Morning sunlight spilled across the glass front of St. Alder's Hospital like it was trying to soften everything inside. Outside, windscreens flashed as traffic rolled past. A bus sighed to a stop. A cyclist rang a bell. Somewhere down the street, children laughed on their way to school. Inside the atrium, footsteps echoed across polished stone. A volunteer's coin jar clinked softly. An espresso machine hissed behind the cafe counter, steam catching the light. Caleb Rowan pushed his cleaning cart through it all at 61 years old. Blue janitor's uniform faded at the knees. A rag tucked into his back pocket. He squinted as sunlight hit his eyes, adjusted his cap, and kept moving. 14 years on these floors that he knew the building by sound before sight. The sharper echo near the elevators. The hollow quiet of the grief corridor. The fast shoes that meant panic. The light ones that meant relief. Today, something felt off, not loud, not chaotic, uneven. Caleb turned into the surgical wing just as morning prep was finishing. Nurses moved under bright white lights. Stainless steel reflected daylight from the narrow outer windows. Everything looked perfect. Too perfect. As he passed operating room 4, he slowed. There it was again. A hitch. A faint mechanical stumble beneath the steady rhythm of the heart monitor. Beep, beep, beep. Caleb stopped. His fingers tightened on the mop handle. He leaned closer to the small glass window in the door. Inside, the patient lay ready, a woman in her 40s, chest rising softly under surgical drapes. Nurses adjusted lines. A surgeon stood at the center of calm. Dr. Adrian Blake, young, brilliant, respected, hands steady, movements precise. The kind of man families trusted without question. Caleb lifted his knuckles and tapped lightly. No response. He tapped again, firmer. Doctor. Blake turned, annoyed. Yes? Caleb didn't step in. Sir, that monitor doesn't sound right. A nurse glanced at the screen. It's within range, she said casually. Caleb hesitated. I've heard that sound before, he said carefully. Right before it, Dr. Blake cut him off gently but decisively. We're prepped and moving forward. Thank you. The door slid shut. Final. The hallway suddenly felt louder. Caleb stood frozen in sunlight. Unease crawling up his spine. In the waiting area across the corridor. Eleanor Wright sat alone beneath tall windows. Her mother was inside, for sunlight rested across her folded hands. She adjusted her coat, then her watch, then nothing at all. Dust floated in the warmth like tiny suspended seconds. Her foot tapped. A nurse passed. Any news? Still prepping. Eleanor nodded, forcing a smile. Back near or 4, Caleb couldn't move. The sound came again. That stutter, that skip. Memory crashed into him without warning. Another hospital. Another hallway. Another monitor. His wife, Rosa. The same sound. 2 minutes too late. Caleb pushed the door open. Inside, the room stilled. Doctor. Blake turned sharply. This is a sterile. That sound, Caleb said, pointing. It's changing. This time the skip was clear. Even the nurse stiffened. Doctor. Blake hesitated, just a fraction, then straightened. We're proceeding. Please leave. No anger, just authority. Caleb stepped out. The door sealed behind him. Seconds passed. Then, the monitor lunged into chaos. Alarm, shouting, pulse dropping, pressures falling, charging. Outside, the sound slammed into the waiting area like thunder. Eleanor stood. What's happening? No one answered. The flatline stretched. Then, the shock. Life staggered back. Barely. Caleb pressed his palm flat to the wall as the hallway echoed with running feet. Ignored again. The doors burst open. The surgery had ended. The woman lived, but unstable. Neurological risk. Unknown outcome. Doctor. Blake exited last. Sunlight washed over his face as he stepped into the corridor. His eyes met Caleb's. Nothing was said. Doctor. Blake walked past. Not in anger. In escape. Outside the hospital. Noon blazed. A bus stop crowd shifted under open sky. A pretzel vendor wiped his counter. A violinist played softly at the corner. Life moved easily, unfairly normal. Eleanor sat on a concrete bench, shaking. They told her her mother survived. They didn't tell her what was lost. Caleb approached slowly. She looked up with red-rimmed eyes. They say she might not wake up the same, she whispered. Caleb lowered his cap. I'm sorry. Across the courtyard, Dr. Blake stepped outside alone. Caleb followed. You should have listened. Caleb said quietly. Doctor. Blake stopped. I don't take medical direction from maintenance staff, he replied, quietly. Not cruelly. I wasn't directing, Caleb said. I was warning. Silence stretched between them in open daylight. She lost oxygen, Dr. Blake said. Long enough to risk permanent damage. The words sounded like a confession. That night, Dr. Blake sat alone in his apartment. The city glowed warm outside his windows that he replayed the sound. That skip. That moment. His phone buzzed. Incident review pending. He looked at his framed awards. For the first time, they looked heavy. The following day, Caleb returned to his shift. Light rain hit the pavement outside, then faded back into sun. A nurse found him near the stairwell. The patient in or for woke up, she said. Then hesitated. She asked to see you. In the recovery room. Sunlight softened everything. Eleanor sat beside the bed. Her mother's eyes fluttered open. Caleb entered quietly. You heard it, Mrs. Wright whispered. Caleb nodded. I tried to tell them, she said faintly. Then it went dark. Dr. Blake stood frozen in the doorway. Every word landed. I should have listened, he said. Caleb met his eyes. Yes, he replied simply. Later, under open sky at the bus stop, Dr. Blake stood beside Caleb. Two coffees steamed between them. I almost killed her, Dr. Blake said. No, Caleb answered. You almost ignored her to death. There's a difference. Dr. Blake absorbed that. Weeks later, the park across from St. Alders glowed in gentle afternoon sun. Children ran, dogs pulled at leashes. Life returned to rhythm. Caleb sat alone on a bench. Dr. Blake approached. I resigned as lead surgeon, he said. Caleb looked at him. Your choice? Yes. They watched Eleanor wheel her mother slowly along the sidewalk in warm light. Inside the hospital, a new sign appeared weeks later. Patient observation and safety unit surgeons, nurses, orderlies, janitors, all trained together now. Dr. Blake addressed the room. This man stopped me from making a terrible mistake, he said, gesturing to Caleb. Not with rank, with awareness. Caleb shifted uncomfortably. That evening, in the hospital atrium, Eleanor approached Caleb with a small frame in her hands. My mother wanted you to have this. Caleb opened it. Rosa, his wife, standing in a recovery hallway years ago, alive in a frozen moment of light. My father kept old patient records, Eleanor whispered. We found her. Caleb's hands trembled. He pressed the frame to his chest. Dr. Blake watched from a distance, not as a hero, not as a villain, just as a man who finally understood. The atrium stayed busy. Footsteps, voices, coins, sunlight, life continued quietly. Moral true healing begins when we finally listen to those we were taught to overlook.